Hey guys, I'm CBMF Productions, and welcome back to the DC Film Retrospective. Today's one's the latest reboot currently of Superman, and the unintentional start of the DCEU, Man of Steel. The film was first developed as a sequel to Superman Returns, but Warner Bros. Quickly opted out of doing that due to mixed reactions of the film, and it also not performing that well at the box office. In 2008, while developing The Dark Knight Rises, David Goyer, one of the writers in Nolan's trilogy, told Nolan an idea about modern Superman, which he then pitched to Warner Bros., and they liked it. Along with realizing with The Incredible Hulk, audiences can accept rebooted characters, even after a short number of years. So Warner Bros. Quickly looked for directors, the after Ben Affleck, Darren Aronofsky, Matt Reeves, and even more in directing the film, but settled with Zack Snyder, who at the time had just done Watchmen, which although wasn't as successful as the studio wanted, knew he had experience in visual effects and comic book movies. And after tons of actors from Armie Hammer, Zac Efron, Joe Manganiello, etc., Snyder picked then unknown Henry Cavill for the lead of Superman, who took the role seriously and tried to give respect to the character as much as he could. The film got the rest of this cast together, it was filmed, finished production, and got released in the theaters in June 2013, where it was given mixed reactions. Some people hated it for the tone, Snyder's direction, and more that we'll get into, and some people praised it. Even to this day, some people consider this film to be one of the best superhero films in recent years. And the film did well enough at the box office, even though it didn't get a proper sequel per se, and I don't think we'll ever see one. At least it did better than Justice League, and it would be the film that kicked off the DCEU, despite this film wasn't developed as the start of a universe. Hence why it would take so long for the next installment to come out, but that's for a different discussion. Anyways, with the history out of the way, let's get into the plot. The film starts out on the planet Krypton as one of the higher-ups, Jor-El, played by Russell Crowe, is determined to get their people off this planet because the core of the planet is collapsing inside of itself. The council of the planet denied that this is going on, but before they can finish the argument, Jor-El, played by Michael Shannon, once was partnered with Jor-El, but has since parted ways because of his sinister nature, decides to rebel against the High Council and sends troops to fight as he wants to save the Kryptonian race, but in a more brutal fashion. Jor-El decides the best option is to get the Hexachrome, a magical school that can transport people, I guess. It's not really explained, and send his newborn son Kal-El to another planet far from Krypton and Zod's reach. He ends up doing this but gets shanked by Zod in the process after having a spar with him. Zod and his goons are arrested for his crimes and frozen in these pods, which kinda look like dicks. Sorry, I had to point that out. And gets sent off to the Phantom Zone as Krypton implodes on itself, as his wife and every other Kryptonian dies in the process. Kal-El then crash lands into Smallville, Kansas and grows up in an odd state, and is also renamed Clark Kent. Being socially awkward and not being able to control his powers, the few times he actually manages to use them and save people always ends up in consequence because of his parents. More specifically, his father, played by Kevin Costner, who wants him to hide his true abilities because they fear how humanity will respond. He grows up and becomes a drifter, who will work various jobs and basically walks around the country. He then stumbles across his old ship in the Arctic, containing his dad's hologram, which trains him as he learns to control his abilities and take advantage of them, along with sporting his own suit. He also meets reporter Lois Lane, played by Amy Adams, when she also finds the ship and is nearly killed by one of those mirror robot things.
He has such a way with words.
Anyways, they find each other and start to form a relationship, as she posts a story at the Daily Planet, where she works and gets punished for it, mainly by her boss Perry White, played by Lawrence Fishburne. But before her and Clark's relationship can develop, Zod is awakened because of Clark opening the ship and giving Zod and his minions a signal to where Kal-El is. They arrive on Earth in their ship and send a signal across all TVs in Metropolis to give Kal-El to them, as he decides to terms of it. He then is held captive by Zod because his cells contain the necessary DNA to replicate the Kryptonian race. Kal-El then breaks out of Zod's ship and tries to stop him from his true plan of not only recreating their Kryptonian race, but destroying humanity in the process to have a clean slate of a plan for the race to thrive. Kal-El, now known as Superman by the press, fights Zod and his minions when they try to find the Hexachrome, and almost kill Clark's mom, played by Diane Keaton, as they battle in the most explosive way possible, as it moves from Smallville to Metropolis as the city gets demolished by these gods brawling. Meanwhile, Lois and some military and science officials try to stop Zod's plan by using Superman's baby ship. Superman destroys Zod's ship containing the Hexachrome, and all the Kryptonian pieces made from Superman's blood, as Zod's plan for recreating his race, which was his purpose, is now destroyed. And now all he plans on doing is killing Superman and the human race out of vengeance. So they find once again ending with Superman having to snap Zod's neck to save a few humans, with Zod trapped in the corner in a subway station with his laser eyes, as Superman screams in pain for having to kill the only other Kryptonian left besides him. The film ends with Clark truly transforming into Superman as he destroys a $12 million tracker satellite because it doesn't want to be hunted, and will continue to help out Earth but on its own terms, as he gets a job under his Clark Kent alias, sporting his classic glasses as he and Lois re-meet as credits roll. I think the concept of a more grounded Superman seems like a bad idea, but on this most recent rewatch, I appreciate it a lot more than I remember. The film has some really solid dramatic moments that don't rely on dialogue and the emotions just hit, and are probably the best bits of the film. The almost body horror-like scenes of Clark not being able to understand his powers were great, and you truly get all sides of the Superman, and remains the best we've gotten in the DCU with Cavill. And he does a good job of not relying on Christopher Reeve for his performance. Along with that, with this new direction, the film doesn't rely on any major plot points or MacGuffins from the previous adaptations of Superman, apart from some very obvious Superman 2 callbacks. I'm glad that Superman's threat for once isn't kryptonite. It's more about him having to grow accustomed to his powers and figure his meaning in the world. Like when he's learning to fly and at first he's just doing major leaps. I liked his version of Superman, and the fact that he won't be a part of this universe at least anytime soon bothers me. Hans Zimmer's score is another aspect I like. Even though it can be a little too overdramatic and ham-fisted at times, I do enjoy it overall. On with Cavill, everyone does give good performances, from Amy Adams, Lawrence Fishburne, Russell Crowe, and especially Michael Shannon, who although has some issues during his bed dramatic scenes being unintentionally funny at points, I will fight him! He's a really good villain, you understand his motivation, but he's also insane on top of that, and you really feel his pain during the scenes like the final confrontation between him and Superman, where he has this speech about, I have no people. It's a great balance of intimidation and defeat. This more grounded approach to superheroes in the vein of Logan and Chronicle, I think was handled well for Snyder, which for his issues that we'll get to, at least he does a better job here than Watchmen. And for a 2.5 hour film, especially the second half, it goes by a lot quicker than you expect. Overall, I think it's a solid film. On the flip side of that, this is definitely a frustrating film to discuss because there are some great things about it, but there are also a lot of issues that hold it back. Starting off easy, the action, although it can be fun at points, it's really irritating due to the amount of digital zooms forced into these grand scenes that doesn't make it feel as big as it should be. This is a Superman movie, not Cloverfield. I don't mind the crazy destruction that happens because what would you expect from two powerful guys fighting in the streets? The issue firstly is that I don't like that you see buildings and explosions everywhere that will only pleasure Michael Bay, but then Superman and Zod will just fly 2 blocks down and it will look completely untouched. And the CGI in this movie is really outdated for a blockbuster, which I thought was a dumb choice because it makes the whole film look ugly in the process. Apart from the opening when you see Clark ripping off a door and an exploding oil rig and you see his hairy chest be engulfed by flames, and the flames look like stock green screen effects that I could find on YouTube, to every single battle in the film including some form of stock action explosion effects, that doesn't make any scenes in the film stand out, at least in the action department. Another issue I have with the action is that most of the second half is hinged on this final battle, which goes on forever. It's entertaining enough, but what makes the pacing feel weird and ties into another big issue that I have, in that some characters get really sidelined here, which mainly Lois, and their relationship in this universe feels so forced. For the few scenes they do share screen time, there's something there, but it feels like Snyder and Goyer just put it in there because the other comics and films did it. The romance doesn't feel earned, and it's the only side of Superman that I felt was lacking. My last major complaint is that so many of the dialogue scenes feel so overdramatic and forced. If the film had more levity and realism in these scenes instead of these plotted wannabe Shakespearean moments, where Pa Kent dies in a tornado, or all the stuff in Krypton, which they also make look ugly in the film, it doesn't make the film feel emotional and grounded as it could have had. The film also has way too much forced symbolism. I was fun with the church scene right before Clark turns himself in, but when he's exiting Zod's ship doing the Jesus pose, it beats you over the head with it. The film is so heavy-handed at points that it drags the scenes that generally have weight to them down because of the tone. It's a very flawed film to say the least. Overall, Man of Steel is a good but heavily flawed film. I like the grounded approach to Superman, and there are great scenes that show the potential throughout with a fleshed out hero and villain, a good score, solid acting, fairly good direction, fast pace, not relying on previous adaptations for the story, and being the most unique Superman film of the day in my opinion, with Clark's transformation into Superman being a great way to tell the story realistically. But it has a lot of issues from the action effects being unbalanced in the story, giving too little to the supporting characters, and cutting corners to the stuff that Snyder and Goyer really wanted to get to in the action. The melodramatic essence of the film was annoying, from trying to emulate the Dark Knight trilogy to the overuse of symbolism. It could have been so much better than it ended up being, and mainly the reason why I'm sad we probably won't ever get a sequel, because it could have developed a lot of these unexplored elements. But as a whole, I do enjoy the film for what it is, and I appreciate things a lot more on rewatch, not having seen this film in years, and I respect that we have a darker Superman film like this that exists. I just wish that it was given more treatment before it hit the screen. I give Man of Steel a B, an 8 out of 10, and a rented recommendation. So that's Man of Steel, what do you guys think about it? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. I'm CBMF Productions, and this isn't the last DC film to review, because justice needs to be served.